I'm excited for this one, guys. Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Phoenix, and this is the Consumer's Guide to Video Games. Sam Lake and Remedy Entertainment. Alan Wake 2 is a third-person survival horror game that takes place over a decade after the events of the first game. Taking control of both the titular writer and an FBI agent named Saga Anderson, the latter has begun investigating a murder that has taken place in Bright Falls, Washington. Her investigation leads her to encountering not only the dark presence, but a cult centered on this presence known as the Cult of the Tree. Meanwhile, Alan Wake remains trapped in the dark place, but has gained the fleeting ability to communicate with Agent Anderson. Soon, their paths converge, and both must find a way to stop the evil that has plagued Wake for so many years once and for all. Words cannot express how excited I was when that teaser dropped in 2022. Like, I was as excited as when Streets of Rage 4 dropped. Even with rose-colored glasses off, Alan Wake holds a dear place in my heart, and I will always love that game. Full review on the channel. Anyways, so when the time came, you bet your fat fucking ass I pre-ordered that shit. Deluxe edition, no less. When the clock struck midnight, the first thing I did was boot the game I have been waiting over a decade for up. And after finishing the game, Sam, buddy, friend, you make me wait 10 plus years for a sequel that ignited my love of video games as a storytelling medium. And you ended on another fucking cliffhanger? Are you kidding me, you fucking hack? Desist! Okay, I'm fine. Okay, so before I get ahead of myself, I need to calm down, and I need to talk about the stuff that I did like about this game, because there are plenty of things I really liked about this game. So, Alan Wake 2 makes a slight pivot with how it's presented. Whereas Alan Wake 1 was an action game with spooky bullshit going on, Alan Wake 2 is straight up horror. The gameplay is very much inspired by the Resident Evil remakes, and this has enhanced Alan Wake so much. You have a few open areas to explore, and you have to manage resources, avoid/fight off the enemies, and solve riddles and puzzles in order to progress. All of these are themed around the gimmicks that were introduced in Alan Wake 1, such as writing and light and dark. As Alan, you have to write your way through certain roadblocks by introducing new story beats, and use a lamp to open up areas in specific ways to progress. The mechanic involving the story beats was neat, and it required a certain amount of thought to figure out what beats to use where and how to get to certain places. As Saga, you do much the same, but her puzzles are more grounded in reality, so you have to find lock combinations, decipher weird nursery rhymes, so on and so on. There is also a new mechanic for Saga, and that is her little mind palace thing. There, you can string together clues from your exploration and profile certain individuals, allowing you to deduce what you should do next. While I think this is neat in concept, I feel it's sort of baby tier compared to the writing stuff with Alan Wake. There isn't much to do aside from figuring out where to put the photos on the wall, and it kinda drags the game's pace to a halt. As I alluded to, this pivot was, in the ways that count, a godsend to the game. In this game, the dark presence feels like a legitimate threat to you. Each encounter with the enemies, even if you bother to upgrade your weapons a ton and find all the weapons, it's a fight for your life. You have to know how to use your ammo and weapons wisely, and know when to run and dodge in order to get by. Some of these bosses, let me tell you, will test your skill, and you better hope to God you have the right amount of ammo. Like, yeah, you may have seen this dog and pony show before in other games, but it's the way Sam Lake uses it that matters, and he uses it well. This now leads us into the art design for the game. On a purely nuts and bolts level, the graphics are really nice. The character models and textures were all really nice and sleek, continuing Remedy's advancement from Control. This now leads us into the visual style and aesthetics the game is going for, and this is where we see Sam and the boys really building on the ideas that were central to what made Control work. The lighting is incredibly stark and uses every possible color palette in the book. The whole world of the Dark Place is this surreal maze of buildings that can shift and change in the blink of an eye when you want it to. Saga's real world always beautifully transitions between these natural looking lighting setups, where entering certain areas will transition you seamlessly from dawn to dusk to night. The enemies have been redesigned to fit the horror tone as well, and encountering things such as these two torsos connected to each other will send chills down your spine. As well, there is lots of blood in the game, and riddling enemies with bullets looks nastier than in the first game. Then there's the use of FMV and real actors. It takes that gimmick Control introduced of superimposing those heavily silhouetted and backlit people over top in-game events or cutscenes, and it turns it up to 11. The way Mr. Scratch is presented with this screaming shot of black and white Ikavili, kaleidoscoping into Rorschach-ing plots that will jarringly cut in, was perfect for the tone of this game. Certain cutscenes will even be in FMV, as there are these talk show segments with Alan and a talk show host called Mr. Door that sort of transition you to the Alan segments of the game. There's a giant fucking musical number in the middle of the game, and while the last section of it was a blatant ripoff of the Peacemaker intro, it was still pretty fun. The music is done in a similar vein to the first game, focusing on atmospherics primarily, but this score takes a more horror-oriented approach. It is full of droning noise, and the vibe of each enemy encounter is enhanced when you are running around while this booming bass tone is going in your ears. Speaking of atmospherics, the audio design in this game is nice. It is a treat, especially with headphones at night, as you are given creepy voices, serene nature sounds, and that sound of small town living that are all mixed together so crisply. Oh, and audio plays a big role in the scares as well, so be prepared for a ton of jarring screeches that will make you jump. The soundtrack for the game is once again done by the band Poets of the Fall under their moniker Old Gods of Asgard. However, unlike in the previous Remedy games that use this band, there are a couple songs in here that are pretty goddamn baller. Herald of Darkness and Dark Ocean Summoning are songs that sound like something by a band called Old Gods of Asgard. It isn't like butt rock like most of the stuff Poets crank out. Like, it's fucking proper power metal. Herald of Darkness made that musical section of the game so much more fun, as did Dark Ocean Summoning with the big fight on the beach. There are also some other songs by other artists in the game that I could give or take. There's a trip-hop song that's fine, I suppose, but you hear it all too often. There's some Zoomer-level alt-pop that's kind of garbage. There's also a nice little folk tune written by Sam Lake that was pretty chill that pops up here and there. Yeah. Now it's time to circle back to why I was so angry earlier and talk about the script. While the Alan Wake games are far from Sam's best work in terms of dialogue and pacing, there are plenty of things to enjoy about them. I really dig the continued world building, as it is tying in elements from Control into this game and expanding our understanding of the Dark Place. I also like seeing how Bright Falls and the world of Alan Wake changed after over 10 years. Hell, fucking Saga Anderson didn't annoy me that much. She eventually won me over, as her relationship with Alex Casey was quite charming in a Mulder and Scully sort of way. The cast as well do a solid job. Matthew Peretta is pretty good as Alan Wake, and especially in the live-action cutscenes, really sells how desperate and fucking mind-broken he is. Melanie Liebert is also pretty good as Saga. She really gets into the material later on. She sells how the situation is affecting this character in great ways at points. My favorite performance, though, had to be the late, great James McCaffrey as Alex Casey. Both Saga World Casey and Alan World Casey are essentially just Max Payne. But the one in Saga's world has more charm and depth to him, and there are these little tender moments that he and Liebert have that are really cute. This everything would have all been well and good. Had Sam Lake just ended the goddamn story. At the end of the game, after getting the two magical fucking MacGuffin things, you seemingly kill Mr. Scratch and Alan and end the horror story. When Saga calls her daughter, we get a cut to fucking black and credits. At first I thought this was a fake out and we would end up fighting another boss, but nah. We get a mid-credits scene where it turns out Alice isn't dead. Like, that was a plot twist earlier in the game, and it actually hit hard. But Shane, that's all just a stupid red herring now. Anyways, yeah, no, she isn't dead. Now she's referring to the player in the same way the chick from Control does, explaining that there is more to do, yada yada yada. Alan then wakes up and says the most labored line fucking imaginable. It's not a loop. It's a spiral. Yeah, cool, Sam. He said the same thing as in Alan Wake 1, but slightly different. Fuck off. Like, I guess you could justify it by saying Sam Lake initially had Alan Wake planned out as a trilogy. Further to that point, we can say that American Nightmare, which I kind of want to replay now, isn't necessarily canon, so we can ignore the ending of that. But dude, it's been 10 years. Like, over 10 years. I would have thought after that time we would have taken stock of the situation and been like, okay, time to bring some closure to this and move on. Guess fucking not. Better hope this game and the Max Payne remakes sell a bazillion fucking copies. Wouldn't want to end the series on a cliffhanger again, now would we? Anyways, if we ignore the ending, the majority of Alan Wake 2 is dope. It is visually unique, and the survival horror tact it takes with the series breathes new life into it. With DLC and updates looming in the future and collectibles aplenty to find in the game, going back and digging deeper into this game would definitely be worth it, especially for big fans of the series like me. Flaws aside, I'm happy Sam Lake got to make the sequel to his cult classic. Now get working on Alan Wake 3, you cunt. 7 out of 10. Catch you later, guys.